If you grew up in an unstable situation as a child, you probably still don't even realize how much that affects you still in your daily life. For example, if you grew up in a situation that was stressful, unsafe, just a situation that was not good as a child, you are highly likely to have developed a comfort in extremely uncomfortable situations. You may be able to be anywhere in any type of situation and still be comfortable and still be okay and relaxed, at least on the outside. And that is a coping mechanism that people, especially kids, develop when they're in those situations because it is their only form of survival. You know, Oftentimes kids who are in these situations, they have no form of escape. They have no opportunities, that is their house. That is the only place where they know they can't go alone anywhere else. And so they develop these patterns to self-regulate and to be comfortable in very unhealthy situations. Now the problem, of course, that already itself is a problem. But as this individual may grow up, they may not even realize that this pattern has developed within them. And so as an adult, they may be experiencing unhealthy situations or situations that are, stressful and people from the outside, looking in, it might be like, well, how could you live like that? Why would you live like that? Why would you, how are you not uncomfortable with that or this? But that person, having experienced great stress, has learned to become comfortable and has almost assumed those things to be normal, assumed those levels of dysfunction to be normal in an environment when that is not the case. And this can manifest in, various types of ways, whether that be work situations, friendships, relationships, just living situations in general. And I think that, if this is you, if this applies to you in any sort of way, like, one, you're not alone. But two, like when you look at this pattern, look as far back as it reaches, because here's the thing, there are likely examples of how this has occurred in your life multiple ways. And even for me, okay, I'll just take me, for example. Of course, I did live in some very unstable conditions as a child. And, when I was a young adult, or even a teenager, when I was working, I was in some very unhealthy work situations, some very toxic and abusive work relationships with, bosses and stuff like that, the way they would treat me, this and that. And the sad part is I assumed that to be normal. I assumed, that is how a boss was supposed to treat their employee, or, I didn't even bat an eye at it. But in the inside, I was suffering greatly, you know. It was so depressing to go to work. And it's sad, even, I mean, this is a very minor detail, but, I was very depressed at that point. And the only way I could regulate was like marijuana. I would do that before I go to work, and that was the only way I could really handle myself. And I remember it was hard to almost exit those situations, because here's the thing that comes with this type of trauma is when you are not allowed to leave like your familiar situation and it's not good, like, and that translates into adult life or even into work situations. For me, when I was a teenager, I couldn't, or I felt like I wasn't able to escape because responsibilities, and even, it's strange when I look back at one of my employers. They were sort of blaming me. I was only 17, I think, but I was a manager at this company, and they were like, oh, most people, they need a 2-week leave, but they were telling me I need like 3 months leave notice because they couldn't replace me in this and that, and I was too valuable and blah 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 blah. But they still treated me like booty cheeks, bro. They treated me like nothing. And I just look back. I mean, it wasn't just that. There were all kinds of problems in that company. But it was very toxic, very unhealthy, and then just the overall environment was very low vibrational. And I realized, like, for me, I've been so used to that and it's being so comfortable in that I learned how to be okay in stressful environments. And the problem is not knowing that's not okay and not actually taking action to change it or get out of there. And so if you find a level of resonance within this message, take the time to consider if you should leave, if you should get up, if you should change your situation. And above all else, like, it's not just leaving a situation, it's actively making choices to not allow ourselves and not put ourselves in situations where we are mistreated, you know, to not put ourselves in low vibrational environments or energies, to not allow ourselves to be treated like we are less than, to be treated like we do not matter. And here's the thing, trauma can be complex. And, even if you didn't have the exact same situation as me, you may have a level of this, but even a different type of trauma and this type of it. Like, the problem is it's so complex that it's like I can't solve that for you. I can show you my story and share a little about how I've worked through that. But ultimately, like, it's complex. And at the end of the day, like, no one else can do that work for you. And that's not a bad thing. Matter of fact, how could I ever do the work for you? You understand? So there's a level of responsibility and self-awareness and really just awakening to the truths of the darkness of what we have experienced in the past. And that's tough, because I know a lot of us don't want to look at, our childhood in that way. And maybe some of us feel guilty about, that sort of truth. But, at a certain point, you got to be honest with yourself because your experience and your reality, like, no one else can deny that because they are not you. They did not experience it. They did not see it from your perspective. So don't let anyone diminish that, especially if you will one suffer. So yeah, it's a tough topic and maybe not the most bright thing, but I don't know. I feel like I just want to be real with y'all because I know that there are probably people out there, maybe you're one of them if you watch this long, who resonate this, who deal with it. And I just want to let you know you're not alone and you can get through it. And I promise, you can grow, you can become better, you can change. I'm living proof of that. I've already grown so much in my life, and I mean, I'm grateful. So, I know the more that you progress and the more that you work through things and just see yourself um let go of these certain patterns, you will become grateful and be more grateful as you see yourself grow. So I appreciate y'all and I hope you have a wonderful day.